Why I retired as soon as I possibly could. Well, first of all, let's take this from the top. I have numerous reasons why I got out of the rat race, the matrix. And a lot of those reasons are probably a lot of reasons that you all have. And when you decide to finally pull the trigger. But at the end of the day, I do have some personal reasons and I want to talk about that. But before we do that, obviously I had to go for a walk, get myself my coffee right here. A little bit of a sloppy mess, but it's actually pretty good today. So a big part of it is, having those moments, obviously, to enjoy the great outdoors. Obviously I live here in a place where, for those that know me, definitely in Alberta, Canada, which is a place where when it's sun shining, you get out and enjoy it because it doesn't shine that often. And we have winter 6, 7, sometimes 8 months of the year. So when I'm wearing my sandals and shorts, it usually means that the weather's good and we're trying to take advantage of it. So when you're stuck working, I've been down to California and some of the southern states and the sun's shining for, 290 days of the year. That's easy to go out anytime, anywhere, but here it's not. And so, a big part of why I retired was to have more of those opportunities where you can actually enjoy it. Now, I have many personal reasons, which we'll talk about too, but there's an opportunity to get out and I took advantage of it. So here we are enjoying it, to be, the king of my own domain, my own boss. And, when you're going through a lot of the corporate world or your career, you often kind of have to do, they're given marching orders, and the marching order says, do this, you do that, you do that. And so to get away from that environment and become your own boss has never been more fulfilling. But quite honestly, a big pile of reasons why, I feel like it was time to get out. A big part of the reason. I can't tell you how many people that I know, here I'm at 54, just turned 54 actually in June. And a big part of the reason why I became much, much more motivated was what I saw my parents go through and friends. And there's no guarantee for tomorrow. And a lot of people plan for tomorrow. They work hard. They're like, okay, at 60, I'm going to do this. By 62, we're going to draw from this pension. By 65, we're going to start traveling. Guess what? Traveling at 60, 65, you're not feeling that great. A lot of times, some people are in great shape and they're okay with that. But a lot of times, people aren't feeling that hot. And the downside is when you're traveling outside of country, especially, insurance is much higher. Travel insurance. Also, there's a lot of other challenges that you have. You're just not enjoying it like you would when you were 25 and everything's bright and spry. You're just not enjoying it to the max. So a lot of people tend to wait for those moments to actually, till they're 65, till they're 70, when they're ripe old age, to actually enjoy life, because the rest of your time, you often just spend pretty much just working. You kind of get up, you work, you get up in the morning, you work, you go to work, you do your thing, come home, eat dinner, maybe take the kids to some sporting events. Then you go to bed and rinse, lather, repeat. And that becomes life in a nutshell. So you're not truly enjoying what life has to offer. And what's even more heartbreaking when, I've had people here recently, numerous friends that have come and gone way too soon. One friend of mine, he worked for 35 years with a company. He was finally, it was time, right? He bought a car a few years before retirement. Then he even sold that. He was starting to transition into retirement, trying to downsize, which is coincidentally one of the things that I've done to try to support moving into retirement was, by the way, we did sell one of our pricier cars, all, just trying to reduce costs and free up some cash. And that's part of the thing that a lot of people have to consider. But back to this story about a friend of mine who had worked for 35 years, top shelf, probably the nicest guy you'll ever meet. And this is always a shame. It always seems like the best people, the nicest people, are the ones that seem to suffer the fate. This gentleman, unfortunately, he worked all his life with the hopes of then starting to travel. He had kids that were in other cities, so he was traveling. He was starting to travel. He turned 65. because that's the ripe old age here in Canada. And he decided, I'm going to start traveling, visit my kids more. I think one was down east in Ontario, another one was in BC, and he was doing some traveling. And I sort of lost touch with him for a bit because he retired at 65. Then, all of a sudden, out of the blue, coincidentally, I heard through our circle of friends, 66. He was just about to turn 66. I think he was a couple months shy, and he had passed away from a sudden heart attack. And that is just absolutely earth-shattering. So that's one story. Another story, an old boss of mine, real diehard company guy, by the book, old school, one of those guys, just really intense, takes and eats his job and his career. He's all about that. Good guy though, fundamentally down deep. He was a good guy with great intentions. And one of my last bosses, he was one of the best, actually, I will say. And unfortunately, he had a situation where he got sick. So he was 62, 63, I believe. They retired him. He didn't want to leave, but it was one of those downsizings again. And so he ended up packing it in at 62, went home during COVID, and unfortunately during the pandemic, and then basically sat around waiting for life. He got back on the saddle, everything was clear. Lo and behold, he got brutally sick. So by the time he turned 64, he pretty much had no future. And recently he just passed away this year at 65. And so clearly that tells you a story. People are waiting. We're hoping for life to deliver the goods when we're 60 or 65 or 70, but it doesn't always come. You know what? Some people get sick, some people get hurt, an accident, maybe lose a limb, sometimes car crash, sometimes even world events can take a whole cog out of there. And remember the lockdown a couple years ago? That's all it takes is another event like that to actually put us on our heels again, where you pretty much write off. So, that is such a sad moment where you're one of these folks that actually worked all your life, wait for it, roll into retirement, and then the pandemic tells you can't travel or leave your house. And this is what was happening. And so why wait for tomorrow? And this is one thing I've basically concluded. I wasn't going to wait. I'm going to enjoy my coffee. I'm going to take up a side hustle, because a lot of times not everybody has pensions. I have a pension, but you know what? I can't grab it yet. So I'm developed a transition and side hustle where I'm able to pretty much just continue on earning before I even get into pensions. So you've got to get creative. So I'm filling in that gap for the next few years till I'm technically able to retire, and then roll right into retirement. So I truly believe, you've got to have a plan, long-term objective. But why do you need to do this? Because we're all banking on tomorrow. And we're all thinking that tomorrow is going to come, and it may not. And that's the worst part. And without being grim, you could last till you're 90, and you still have to sort of plan that out. You still have to have savings or a plan or an objective to get you there. But there's the law of diminishing returns. I know a lot of people that kept pouring money into their pensions, pouring money into the mutuals and RSPs, pouring money into everything, and only for what? Never actually having to use it, or having too much money. Well, there's never too much money, but there is not enough time. And so a lot of times, I know a lot of people that spend all their time, never holidayed during their lifetime, never had kids because it was never the right time, never did any of that, resisted the urge to actually enjoy life. And instead, what they did was they essentially gave up life. Then they retire at 65, big pension, nowhere to go, because maybe I've heard of even people, a spouse leaves 2 years before retirement. Now all of a sudden, you don't have a spouse. Maybe you're giving 50% of your pension out to that on a divorce, or any number of conditions. Like I said, health, wealth, none of it really matters if you don't have good health. So if you don't have money, that's a tough challenge. But if you don't have health, that's a devastating challenge. So there's always ways to come up with cash. You can, like I said, you can often get into a side hustle. You got to go back to a little side job somewhere, get, generate some revenue. That's something that I've always basically thought about. But you do it on your terms, and you do it in your timing. I also know people that have gone, they've say work union work, they do a job for 3 months, and they go and enjoy the rest of the year off. And they do that as sort of a retirement plan. They generate enough revenue to get them through the year, then they go back and they rinse, lather, repeat. So that's why I want to retire. I have 2 parents, unfortunately, sadly, devastatingly so, both are gone now. And I saw what happened there. My dad worked way too long, and that was a message to me. Why did you work so long in your career? Well, some of it was he didn't know what to do with himself. Some of it was money related. My mother, same story. She finally retired and got brutally sick. And so when I watch this, all it does continually remind me of the fact that we don't know what's in front of us. We don't know what's in store. We don't know how long we've got. And we certainly don't know if tomorrow's our day. I could fall over here in 10 minutes, or it might last till I'm 89. I don't know. I do know what the average life expectancy is, and here in Canada, it's probably late 70. Last time I checked, actual average life expectancy was about 77 for men. I think it was around 81 for women. And so even at 80, even if I make 80, I'm 54. What does that give me? 26 years left, 25 years. And that's the worst 25 years of your life, because usually you're on the decline, your health's sliding, you're not feeling that great. And you know what, even if you are, you're on borrowed time. And at any point, an injury can take you out. Then there's no travel, sickness, illness, all those things. Now, nobody wants to look at that. But, the idea of dealing with, chronic health issues just basically shuts down all those plans that you were dreaming all your life. You have this sort of this thought in your mind that this is what life's going to be. I'm going to work hard. I'm going to save all this money. And then when I hit 65 or 70, I'm going to retire and we're going to call it a day. And in doing so, a lot of people miss the boat and often wait too long. As I mentioned, a couple good friends of mine both passed away at 65. Right at the time when they should be starting to enjoy life, their life's both stripped away from them. So this is why I can't help but say that look at the money, look at the savings, look at the law of diminishing returns. There will be a point where you're generating more than you probably realistically need. Now, again, there's never enough money, I understand, but sometimes you just got to simplify. Like I said, for us, making sure that you're trying to trim out your debt, trying to knock down your mortgage, maybe downsize your house, sell a car, do more walks, maybe look for deals, grab a coupon here or there. I don't know. Everybody has their creative ways, but just know this, life is short. We don't have endless numbers of days. And that's the commodity that you can't buy, you can't trade. And billionaires, millionaires have all the money in the world, but that's one thing that they cannot get back is their lifespan. They can't get back time, and time is a limited commodity. You can't get it. It's done. And so the sooner you put yourself into a position, i.e. retirement, the sooner you can walk away from those bosses that are putting their thumb on your head, the sooner that you can enjoy the green grass and the smell and the roses, the sooner you can play with your son or your grandkids, the sooner you can do any of that and enjoy life for what it is. The key is maybe have a side hustle, maybe generate a little bit of side money, or know just what you have in plan for your financial future. You have to sit down with your financial advisors, make sure you understand your pension situation and what your monthly salary and income looks like. Now, we know this last 2 years was devastating for a lot of people, the last 3 or 4 years realistically, because even with the planned out future, the cost of living crisis really took a toll on a lot of people, and it really kicked that all into high gear and really wiped any kind of benefits a lot of people had that were on fixed income. So we know you can't account for everything, but all you can do is know what you know and have a bit of a plan. And that's the thing, because life is short and we're not here indefinitely. And that's why I got out while I definitely could. So definitely please love to hear your story below. If you want to share with me, I had a long, fruitful career. I loved it. I loved everything I did, the people I worked for, the type of work I did. But you know what? I like living my life better. So that's just it. You know, I laugh. A lot of people say, hey, but I love my work. I'm going to keep working till the cows come home. But I mean, that's good for those that do love their work and are passionate about their work. But I've met so many people that say, well, I love my work. And realistically, you really love your work, or you love the idea of not having a job? You know, and a lot of people just do it because, or pretend that they work, or they convince themselves that they love their work or their type of employment. But realistically, my question to you would be, well, is there anything you'd rather be doing? Like, sure, you may enjoy your work, you may tolerate your work, but wouldn't you rather be on a golf course, or maybe fly fishing in some streams, or maybe cruising on a ship off of the shore of Hawaii? Or what is there anything you'd rather be doing? Because I almost guarantee you would. So definitely drop a line below. I'd love to hear your story, and please hear anything. What's your preference? Would you like to stick it out, or early retirement is your game? Hope to see each and every one of you. See you real soon. Bye-bye.